Welcome and welcome back. I'm so happy you're here. I hope you have had a good week, a week of health and strength, of some adventures perhaps, or a worthy challenge or two, or both. From time to time, for a variety of reasons, I sort of drop out of awareness of the world. It's usually because I have been traveling without ready access to a newspaper or the TV, and with limited time access to my computer. It generally happens when I visit my children, as they are both fairly television averse and get all their news from the internet, which I can access, but usually choose not to do so. There are also times, as I suspect we all have, when I am just not interested. I don't want to know. I don't want to hear another word. I don't want the upset or the aggravation or even the sense of despair. In retrospect, this last week, I emerged from one of those periods of non-involvement. It may have had something to do with Election Day and the nature of Ohio politics that is receiving some national attention. It may have been the observance of Yom HaShoah, our Holocaust Remembrance Day, especially in light of the horror of Russia's invasion of Ukraine and the additional crimes that are being perpetuated there. It may have had to do with what I hope is a growing concern with climate change, as May 1st arrived, but not the warmth and sun we associate with the arrival of this month. Simultaneously, I continued my personal project of cleaning out the accumulated stuff in my home, which is an endlessly challenging and difficult process for me. It made me think about why it is so challenging, and that led to a conversation with my daughter about sufficiency and the fears we harbor about not having enough time, enough food, enough health, enough love, friends, experiences, enough rest, strength, and joy, and the biggie, enough money and security. We seem to spend so much of our energy counting or quantifying what we have and what we don't, and how it compares to others, what they have and what they lack. Isn't that part of the allure and the danger of social media? We have learned that the messages conveyed can be especially painful and disruptive for children and teenagers. Adults are not immune to the corrosive effects of being exposed to seemingly everyone else's perfect, beautiful, abundant lives. In the face of the onslaught of others' friends, family, vacations, celebrations, new houses, new possessions, and blissfully satisfying lives in our deluded and gullible imaginations, we can feel small, inadequate, not good enough, not good looking enough, not popular enough, not financially comfortable enough. We feel lacking, we feel insufficient. Interestingly, in dealing with my overabundance of stuff, I came across a Devar Torah. It's an interpretation of the Torah. For the Torah portion, Vayishlach, that was circulated, this only tells you about the stuff I have, in November of 2021. No, that's not so long ago. In it, Rabbi Karen Kedar wrote about fear and its effects on us. Sometimes, she writes, we feel constricted. We live with a life perspective of scarcity. Will there ever be enough? These are her words. Enough love, enough blessing, enough friendship, enough fame and fortune. Will we ever be good enough, worthy, so that we may be redeemed from what holds us down, holds us back from living our best life. Who among us is not afraid of judgment, of being small? We walk through the world clenched, anxious, tense. But we do have a choice. In the spiritual world, the opposite of fear is love. Instead of fearing scarcity, we can hope for abundance. Our liturgy teaches that the universe is a vessel with overflowing love, hope, and beauty. Ahava Rabbah, great love. When we live with a perspective of abundance, we have plenty. We live with gratitude for the many blessings in our life. We are worthy. Let us pause for a moment at this point in her observations and take our initial break to breathe. I am especially moved by that image of how we hold ourselves tense, anxious, in knots. So let us take our positions. I think I'm going to close a window actually, because I'm thinking that there's a playground that the children's voices might, as lovely as they are, might be distracting. So give me 1 second. Sorry, thank you. So let us take our meditative positions, sitting comfortably, erect, however, and let us do that inventory as we release all the places that hold those anxieties and those constrictions within us. Let's start behind our eyes, where our concentration happens. And let us let go of at least some of the thoughts that occupy us, some of the worries that we may be carrying. Let us imagine wiggling our ears, unclenching our jaws, wagging our tongues, rotating our necks, rotating our shoulders, back, forward, raised up, squeezed up, and released. Let us release our arms, our elbows, our forearms, our wrists. We can wave them around, our fingers. We do so much with our hands and our wrists. I think they take a lot of tension as well. And then let us go inside and imagine our digestive systems just relaxing and allowing whatever is happening there to happen. We release our waists, our hips, our upper legs. We can wave our knees back and forth, if we lift up our legs, we can dangle our lower legs and place them again firmly on the ground, wiggling our toes, making sure the ground is firm under our heels. And as I've already done, we can close our eyes or let them rest softly on something nondescript. And let us breathe. And with that intake, we can imagine another layer of holding, released. Released to let room. To let there be more room inside for our breath. We can fill up as far as we possibly can, and then release. A yawn is good. A yawn is always good. It's a relaxer. It's actually a relaxer. Let us inhale. Deeply, fully to all those places we've just released. And maybe even one or two more that we didn't find the first time. Let's hold on to it for a couple of seconds. And then release slowly. And enjoy letting go of whatever toxins are within. We can just imagine them leaving with the breath. Toxins of thought, toxins of feeling, as well as physical toxins. And let's rest at the exhale. And then we start again. Fully, deeply. It's almost as if we can feel that air going through our bodies and healing those places that hurt, touching the places that may be painful. Certainly physically, but perhaps even more importantly, mentally, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually. And let us just think about that breath coming in and going out. I'm just going to repeat for a moment her last thought. In the spiritual world, the opposite of fear is love. Instead of fearing scarcity, we can hope for abundance. Our liturgy teaches that the universe is a vessel with overflowing love, hope, and beauty. Ahava Rabba. Oh, forgive the landline. When we live with a perspective of abundance, we have plenty. We live with gratitude for the many blessings in our life. We are worthy. And yet we struggle. It is not easy to quiet our minds and open our hearts. Living is not easy. Life is often a struggle with unseen forces, a wrestling with people, with circumstances, with inner demons, and with angels. In the darkness, we wrestle between worthiness and acceptance, between love and fear. Rabbi Cantor then makes a connection between our struggles and the story of our patriarch Jacob wrestling with the angel. She writes, "It is nighttime by the river Jabbok. Darkness is everywhere upon the land, upon the soul. I wonder if there is a gentle breeze, a wisp of godly presence before the fight. Maybe the stars shine upon the black sky, maybe not. Maybe the light of the moon illuminates the river Maybe not. It is quiet, dead quiet. And Jacob is afraid. And suddenly, a whirlwind tosses him. He tumbles, twists as he tries to steady himself. Who are you? Who are you that seizes our fear, that grips our clenched heart? What is the name of the one who injures us so? Then off in the distance, light upon the horizon, colorful hues, perhaps as the poet Emily Dickinson once observed. I'll tell you, forgive me, I'll tell you how the sun rose, a ribbon at a time. And then Jacob pleads for a blessing that will wipe away the fear. Let me go, for dawn is breaking, says the other. But he answered, I will not let you go unless you bless me. And the stranger, or maybe it's an angel, answers, your name shall no longer be Jacob, but Israel, for you wrestled with beings divine and human, and you have prevailed. And from that moment, we are named. We are not the children of Abraham, nor are we the children of Isaac. We are not even the children of Jacob. We are Israel, struggling to be free of our fears, yearning to live with awe, unclenched, open-hearted, in love and blessing. This is the goal of our break to breathe and of our meditative moments, to release our constricted bodies and our constricted minds into a place of expansiveness and generosity, of openness to the present moment and its possibilities, from the limited existence of our self-conscious mental loop to a spacious understanding of the universe, whose grandeur and inspiration we might ignore in the daily pressures, deadlines, and anxieties that occupy our minds. I do not know if the antidote to fear is love. Rabbi Ben Goldberg suggests that the antidote to fear is faith. He cites Rabbi Kushner, who asserts that it is important to acknowledge that the world is a dangerous place and at the same time maintain the faith that God has planted within us, the capacity to contend with those dangers and to overcome them. Clearly, there is more than one approach to overcome fear. What I do know is that a feeling of insufficiency emerges from fear. And our few moments together can be one more approach to feeling settled, empowered, and quite enough for this world. Let us breathe together. Let us reassume our meditative postures. Remind ourselves of the release that we can at least count on when we do these breaks, when we stop in the middle of any day and give ourselves the opportunity to literally catch our breath and let us breathe in. That sense of expansiveness, of spaciousness, of generosity. And we can breathe out the smallnesses, the constrictions, the limitations that we so easily place upon ourselves. We breathe in a larger perspective. And we breathe out the blinders, the narrowness, the oppressiveness of fear, of insecurity, of anxiety. Even if it is just for these few minutes, it is a liberation. I believe that our lungs, just the way they work, suggest to us expansion, openness, fullness, overflowingness. And then letting go of the toxins, of the smallness, of the restrictions, the things that hold us down and hold us back and hold us within. It can't last, it won't last, but for these few moments, we can enjoy it. And the goal is to accomplish in our lives some measure of what we accomplish in our breathing, in our break to breathe. By way of conclusion, I found a wonderful poem by, no surprises, Mary Oliver. What does surprise me is how her attention is focused on so many of the things we talk about here. This one is entitled Storage. When I moved from one house to another, there were many things I had no room for. What does one do? I rented a storage space and filled it. Years passed. Occasionally I went there and looked in, but nothing happened, not a single twinge of the heart. As I grew older, the things I cared about grew fewer, but were more important. So one day, I undid the lock and called the trash man. He took everything. I felt like the little donkey when his burden is finally lifted. Things, burn them, burn them. Make a beautiful fire. More room in your heart for love, for the trees, for the birds who own nothing. The reason they can fly. I wish you a week of taking flight in whatever way that is meaningful and important to you. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Be well. God bless. Thanks.